Grossman here, and I am hosting for Scott Steen, the Steamroller, the HitThePick.com Founders Show. HitThePick.com, of course, honesty and integrity and transparency in your sports gambling advice. And I got to say, we got some of the best hand-picked handicappers from a variety of networks that you know from all over the country. David Delano, Tom Macrina, a.k.a. Rye Cape, the aforementioned Scott the Steamroller, and Sniper Wes, who are the founders. And this is why this is called the Founders Show for HitThePick.com. Scott is under the weather, and Wes is busy in Las Vegas. We don't know quite what he's doing, but I'm sure he's up to no good. So Wes can't join us today either, but that's okay, because we have a very special guest that Tom managed to get on the show. Tom, why don't you give our special guest, and there's David Delano. Tom, give our special guest an introduction.
Yeah, so this is Spread Astaire. He's been doing this forever. Amazing he does NBA, NFL, tennis. Yeah.
Yeah, those are the three. You got them right there. Thanks for having me on, guys, and I'm excited to be here on the Founders Show, HitThePick.com.
Great to have you. I'm glad to see that you're rural. You were saying you got a 10-acre spread out in the woods.
Yeah, I just moved. That's why I kind of been laying low the last couple months. I moved out of Sacramento, and I'm about an hour and a half northeast, kind of on the way to Reno.
Okay, so I spent many years in Sacramento. I grew up there.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk off the air then. We don't want to spend too much time, but
don't spend too much time on that. But I will show this early in the show though. It's a Sacramento Hedo Turkoglu from 2003 bobblehead. I used to go to the Kings games back in the day, and in honor of the Kings being in a play-in game tonight, I thought I'd go ahead and dig out some of my old Sacramento Kings bobbleheads. Anyway, Spread, great to have you. Tom, David, thanks you for joining. Where do we want to start, gentlemen? You want to start with the NBA, David?
Yeah, we could go ahead and start with the NBA. I mean, got a couple games tonight in the play-in just to kind of – then we'll sort things out later on this weekend. Got the Bulls taking on the Miami Heat tonight. The winner of that game is going to face the Atlanta Hawks for the 8th seed. And then we also have the Dallas Mavericks and the Sacramento Kings playing tonight. And the winner of that game will end up taking on the Memphis Grizzlies for the right to take on the Thunder. So I've got a couple plays over on that. So I'll go with one of them, and Spread and Tom, I'll let you guys chime in. I like the Bulls in the earlier game starting off. I'm on the Bulls. And that one, I know it's hard for me initially, and I think probably for a lot of people to go against the Heat with just their culture and what they've done, but a little bit of a different team now. Don't have Jimmy Butler anymore, and I like the Bulls to win outright. Spread, you got any thoughts on it?
Man, I'm with you 100%, and I agree. It's hard to go against the Heat, but I've said this before. I think a lot of times people are confusing having the better team and the better franchise. The Heat are a better franchise. I would rather be a Miami Heat fan. They run their team better. However, this year, the way that they're set up, I believe the Bulls are a better team, and they have multiple options to score. So even if one of their best players doesn't have a good night, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're shut out. Whereas if the Bulls can find an answer for Tyler Hero, I just don't think they have enough supporting. So I'm on the Bulls with you too, and it's actually kind of a controversial pick. I consumed a lot of content today. It seems like there's a lot of people on Miami.
Yeah, what about you? What about you, Tom?
Yeah, I am on the Bulls as well. I think they're undervalued here. Like Spread was saying, after the trade deadline or before the trade deadline, they grabbed all these guys who were, blocked by other guys like Giddey behind SGA. These guys have skill. It looks like they have chemistry. They're a great offensive team, good three-point shooting team. And he's a team that just crumbles at the end of the games all the time. I actually like a halftime, full-time, Miami to win the first half, and then Bulls the second half. But, yeah, I like the Bulls here.
Now, do you think that we'll go with Tom for? Do you think that you like the Bulls to win tonight? Do you think that they'll take down Atlanta, or do you think who do you think is going to grab that matchup if it happens?
Yeah, I actually think they're going to give Cleveland a problem.
I don't know about all that. What do you think? You got any thoughts on that one, spread? As far as after this, do you think if the Bulls win tonight, do you
I
think
think
they'll take down Atlanta? Or yeah,
I
go ahead.
think the winner of tonight's game has a chance to make the playoffs. For the evening game, even though it's my favorite team, I kind of don't think Dallas or Sacramento has a chance against Memphis. So, yeah, I would say that the winner of tonight's game is live against Atlanta because Atlanta can't get stops. So if you can't get stops, how can I trust you to win?
No, I agree with you on there as far as this whoever wins in the East has a better chance. I really don't expect too much from Dallas or Sacramento. I think it's just kind of a one more time thing. And kind of talking about that game, it's a little bit of a tough handicap for me. I'd like the Mavericks now at the 5.5. Shouldn't say I like it, but that's the play that I have for that one. It's probably between the two. I feel less confident about that one. But as much as I'm not crazy about the Mavs, I just did not want to lay the 5.5 with the Kings. There's so many solid but shaky players throughout throughout the history that you wonder like who do you trust a little bit more. Tom, what do you think about that game tonight?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, since we've had this playing round, the 10 seeds haven't done very well. I think they're 2-8 ATS, and a lot of these games have been blowouts. I'm actually going to stay away from the side. I do like the under here. I kind of feel like Sacramento is going to blow them out, but I don't really trust Sacramento either. So, yeah I like the under here.
Yeah,
I think Anthony Davis could have a good game. I see a path that they could keep it close, but no, I can't take a side.
Yeah, it's one of those things. If Anthony Davis has a big game tonight, you almost don't feel like it's going to happen in the next one after that. Yeah, so that's how I feel about that. I don't know if spreads there. If you got any thoughts on that Dallas and Sacramento game tonight?
Yeah, give me 1 minute. I'm so sorry. I just had someone show up at the house to help me work on it.
No, you're good. You're good.
You're good. Take your time.
Yeah, it's all to me. But you said you think that they could give Cleveland a hard time, like the Bulls. That is.
Yeah, the Bulls. They've been. Cleveland has a couple bad shooting nights, and Chicago usually doesn't. Yeah, since the trade deadline, they've been a really, really good team. They've been scoring. As I said, I think they're the third best 3-point shooting team. They don't really play much defense, but yeah, I think they're going to give Cleveland a run for their money.
They are a fun team to watch. I mean, the Bulls have been putting they've been kind of one of those teams for the last few years now. When you look at the roster, it seems like they should be doing a little bit more. And it just they haven't been able to get over the hump. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens tonight with that.
When they won that game late against the Lakers, that's when I was really looking at this Bulls team. They're pretty good. Yeah. They make good moves.
Now, Lou, as the NHL playoffs not quite here, for you, are you looking at any NHL? This last couple days, this very end of the regular season, do you have any interest in the game 82 for any of these teams? Or
yeah, it's actually pretty much all settled. As after last night, it's there's a couple minor places where people might be jockeying still a little bit, and there's a lot of teams, so it's complicated. But the first round is pretty much set up. A lot of the matchups are already set. I really like the Golden Knights to get out of the first round as one of my top teams that I'd put on getting out of the first round. They drew the Minnesota Wild, who they've handled pretty easily. They beat them the last couple times out, 4-1 and 5-1. And so, I think they'll make quick work of the Wild. I expect the Hurricanes also to make a quick trip out of round one, beating up on the Devils. I liked the Devils as a dark horse about 2 months ago, but boy, if they've been hit by the injury bug since then. I expect the Jets, Capitals, and the Leafs also to make it out of the first round. Now, matchups I'm looking at with the most anticipation is Panthers Lightning because they hate each other. It's like Red Sox Yankees with more fights. And, that one is anybody's series. Both teams have made the playoffs every year since 2020. They faced each other a lot in the regular season and in the postseason. That is going to be a great, great matchup to watch. The other one that I'm anticipating the most is Stars Avalanche. The Stars are a couple of, missing a couple of key players that are starting to maybe make their way back, but it doesn't look like they're going to be back in time. And so they're just they're missing a couple of key pieces. Heiskanen still might return, but it's, he just started skating. So I wouldn't, put a lot of faith in that. I give the edge to the Avs in that series because of Dallas's injury problem. And the Kings and Oilers, I've got too many Kings fans in my orbit. And I'm afraid I'm getting a little hyped on the Kings. So that series, I'm going to kind of take a step back. So again, coming out of round one, I really like the Golden Knights, Jets, Capitals, Leafs, Panthers, Lightning, who knows? Stars, Avalanche, I'd give a slight edge to the Avs. And then Kings, Oilers, I'm waiting on.
Cool. And I'm not seeing the exact I've seen the Stanley Cup odds. I haven't quite yet
the lowest
seen
odds
the series odds.
Right now, the series odds aren't out because they're not all finalized, but the Panthers plus 650. The problem with the Panthers is they're going to have trouble with the Lightning. They're not going to go away. So, that is a bet I would not make right now. If they make it out of the first round, I'd consider it.
Cool. And Spread, did you have any
handicap hockey?
I am no hockey takes at all. You guys can.
All right.
If you have some bets for me, I'll put them in. But
not quite yet. Tom,
what do you?
Yeah. So I actually had two futures before the season started. The Winnipeg Jets, Carolina Hurricanes. So they're both alive. You were talking about Carolina earlier. I am going to take the -1.5. I think it's going to be a good price against the Devils. I just think Carolina is the better team. Devils have injury problems. They haven't been good down the stretch. I agree with you on Vegas as well. I'll probably take that -1.5 on this series as well. Same thing. They just dominate this Wild team. I actually might look at them to sweep to win 4-0 when that comes out as well.
Cool.
Montreal has to win in regular. No, they just had to get a point tonight, and then their last team in. Everything else is set up for NHL playoffs.
Yeah, that'll be exciting. There's gonna be a lot of just playoff action going on between the NHL and NBA. Spread, I did want to hear your thoughts though. You have a prediction or thoughts tonight on that Kings versus Mavericks game, and then also beyond that, are there any potential first round series upsets that you have your eyes on?
All right. Yeah. So I'm from Sacramento, grew up there, born and raised. So I am a Kings fan. It's a tough game for me tonight, right? Because if the Kings win, we'll most likely send our first round pick to Atlanta. 90% chance if we win tonight, we land at 13 or 14 and the first round pick goes to Atlanta. I don't know if I really like the makeup of this team. Maybe I'd rather have the pick, but at the same time, it's not in our DNA. It's hard to root against our team. So I already have conflicted thoughts on that. And sometimes, you know how it is too, right? Sometimes you stay away from betting your favorite teams because emotions can get involved. But let me go ahead and give you some of my thoughts for this game. I do think that Dallas has a big size advantage here. Kings will probably run Sabonis at the 5, and they'll have Lively and AD out there. Most likely, Kings run Keegan Murray at the 4, which should be a nice little matchup there for AD, although I do think Sabonis will be guarding him a lot tonight. I think that if you are going to bet it, I think you either lay it with the Kings or you take the Dallas money line. I don't know if it lands within the 5 points. And for one of the reasons why I would say lay it with the Kings, I think there's a lot of scenarios where Dallas loses and they pack it in. I think you're going to get a great effort from AD, overall. But how many of these other players are you going to be like, I don't want to be on this franchise. I don't want to play for Nico Harrison. This season is over, and it doesn't even matter if we win tonight. So I'm wondering if this team packs it in. I can't see Dallas losing a close game. I think Dallas will have a huge edge in a close game, as good as DeRozan has been in the clutch here. However, if I was forced to make a pick, I would lay the 5 with the Kings. At the end of the day, I just simply think they have too much offense. It's almost like the Bulls Heat matchup, right? If AD doesn't go off and we don't get a big game from Spencer Dinwiddie, where are the points coming from? Whereas I think the Kings can absorb a bad game from Levine as long as DeRozan and Sabonis are going. They can absorb a bad game from Sabonis if DeRozan and Levine are going. So they have multiple options to get in there. And I know it's not good to miss Malik Monk, and they're going to miss his scoring a lot. I think he's a very, very underrated player. I like Keon Ellis in the starting lineup. And we need to have a little bit of defense here for the Sacramento Kings. So obviously, I didn't bet this game. My bet for tonight is the Bulls, and I'll just watch this one as a fan. And I don't even know what I'm rooting for. But if you force me to pick the proverbial $100, just go bet. But you have to bet this game. I would lay it with the Kings.
Okay. And beyond that, do you think so for the Kings, if they get it done tonight, which assuming they will, do you think they have any? You sounds like you don't think they have much of a chance against Memphis, though.
I think that game will open between 5 and 7, and I'd probably lay it with Memphis. I know that Memphis hasn't played well lately, but this Golden State Warriors team that they played really close last night, that's a good team. I mean, I'm not betting it, but would I be shocked if this team was in the NBA Finals? No, they're like a championship caliber team, and Memphis was really close there to really proving what they can do. So, no, I don't think either team does. If I'm a Memphis fan, though, I want Sacramento to win. I think Dallas is a tougher matchup because I think they can match them with the size. And if the Mavericks did win tonight and they took some momentum, to me, it's because they found some scoring with the role players on the road, which we know doesn't happen that often. But if they are able to find that, maybe they can head in to Memphis and be dangerous with the idea that, hey, Anthony Davis could be the best player on the floor, right? So I think if I'm a Memphis fan, I'm rooting for Sacramento tonight as well.
Okay, so let me just go around the horn here. I don't pick the NBA, so I'm just going to go. David was taking the points with Memphis, right?
I'm taking the points with probably a little shaky, but I'm taking the points with I took Dallas tonight in the points and the Bulls.
Sorry.
Yeah. I don't feel great about the Dallas pick, but
Dallas tonight plus the 5.5 against the Kings. Tom?
Yeah, I like the Bulls for the early game, and then I'm just on the under for the late game, Kings.
Okay.
And I think it's going to be a blowout.
That makes Spread Astaire with minus the points on the Kings our lone wolf.
Yeah, I guess so here. But like I said, that's not my favorite bet, and I'm not rushing to the window to get that ticket in.
I think that's the thing about that game, because I said the same thing as far as Dallas. It's not my favorite pick, and I'm not rushing to the window. You're not rushing to the window with the Kings. It's really a tough matchup. It's one of those games that has the potential to make you look bad either way. You just
I just wonder if Dallas is going to give up and pack it in if they get off to a bad start. And Loud, you can attest, right? You've been there. One thing the Kings do have going for them is a strong home court advantage, and that place will be rocking tonight. So,
Sacramento doesn't have much. So the Kings, and now they have the A's. Who knew?
Right.
But they've got the Kings, and that arena does get rocking there in Sacramento. It gets loud. The local Sacramento fans will be behind that team in a big way in a playoff game atmosphere. And if the Kings get going, that's a really raucous atmosphere there in Sacramento.
I think they could beat the Grizzlies. Grizzlies are a sloppy team.
Whoa!
They're like the Heat. They blow games. They played Denver the other night, Saturday, Friday. They had that game, the whole thing, and then all of a sudden they didn't even cover the number. Yeah, they're sloppy. Memphis. They should have been a number 2 seed.
I don't think that
playing a game.
Yeah, I think Memphis is gonna take it, but this the thing with this Mavericks Kings game, what you were saying about Dallas packing it in, it does feel like one of those games that if you turn it on late, you could have the potential to see it's like 46-24 in the second quarter. It does kind of feel like it could be that type of game, but we'll see.
That works for me.
All right. So that's the NHL playoffs coming up, which is going to be exciting. Playoff hockey is different. Playoff hockey is just different. And guys throwing their bodies in front of flying pucks, and the hits are harder and the speed is faster. It is, Tom, it is noticeably different than the regular season, right?
Yeah, I think NHL is the best postseason there is. It's hardcore every single game.
Right.
You never see teams quitting. Yeah, it's great. NHL playoffs are the best.
Yeah, it's love the NHL playoffs. All right, so we've covered the NBA, David. We've covered the NHL playoffs, and that brings us to everybody's favorite, the United Football League, the UFL.
Spread, are you into the UFL at all, or UFL?
No, I'll just be tailing these picks here. I have not watched a UFL game.
All right.
Well, missing out. Are you guys going to give me a passion plea that this is some football that I need to be watching?
Yeah.
Well, after 2 decidedly awful weeks of offense, featuring some of the worst quarterback play I've ever seen, all of a sudden there was an offensive explosion in week 3, which, by the way, I predicted last week. I told everybody, look, the UFL has no preseason, and they have a very short camp. So the offenses are still sort of getting to know each other. And also, coaches made a lot of mistakes. A lot of starters, quarterbacks, have been replaced, and the guys that have come in behind them have given the team an offensive spark. You've already had multiple coaches lose their jobs, new offensive coordinators, new defensive coordinators. I mean, you call the NFL not for long. The UFL is not for long. A lot of changes. Now, every dog covered last week, and 3 dogs had outright wins. And that's sort of what can happen with the UFL. You can get these topsy-turvy results. The question is it parity or is it parody? And right now, I'm going to lean on the parody side. But, the offensive play was a little bit better last week. But the QB play is still an issue. Only 3 of the 8 starting quarterbacks mustered more than 200 yards passing. And the thing that actually led to teams scoring was quarterbacks running, not quarterbacks passing. So called QB runs or QB scrambles led to a lot of scores. And then the overs were also aided, let's be honest, by a few crucial defensive scores, like a pick 6 that screwed me at the end of the Brahmas game, where I was going to easily cover the 7 points. And then all of a sudden the Brahmas are back in it on an unbelievably bad pick 6 that was thrown while the other team was going in to score. I think I'm going to be looking at QB prop bets for running this week because that seems to be the major offensive weapon. And I think it's safe to play the overs now, depending on how the totals get adjusted. But I'm looking at the overs as well. And again, the QB and coach carousel is a problem in the UFL, as is injury reporting and, frankly, stats. Fox is in charge of it. And, man, I got to tell you, David, you and I talked about this before. The UFL stats are a pain in the neck.
Yeah, it is. It's I went to the first Houston UFL game last season, and I've been trying to follow it, and there's just a lot of things that I see. First of all, like for me, and you've been hanging in there with it, the product has been tough to watch, but even like to handicap, I mean, you have to dive really. I mean, the stats are there, but when you're looking at with Fox, it's hard to find the stats. You have to go in, and it's a little bit takes longer, I think, than all the other sports. So, and I know the minimums are also lower, and the games have been so wacky. It's not the easiest. They're not making it the easiest for bettors or fans to follow, but maybe that's just what they want. They want people to just kind of throw money at it because it's football, and I don't know how confident.
That's funny to me. If they wanted to make this popular, I'd say they should streamline it towards bettors, because who else is watching this? Right? Even that's what I mean. I think we're almost there with the NBA regular season. You have your diehard fans that only watch their team, and they watch, almost every night. But it's not like when I was younger, where you get excited for the Saturday or the Sunday premium match.
You got so excited, and you'd watch the whole game.
Yeah. I think they should be catering to bettors, because especially with the way the players are now, there's less fan loyalty. I saw a lot of Mavericks fans that are Lakers fans now, because they said, we liked Luka. Like the team was good, we were happy, but we're
not happy about the ownership or the team. We like that player.
Yeah. So UFL might be missing something here, because they should be catering to that left and right, in my opinion.
Well, let me cater to the degenerate bettors for the UFL here. I got picks on all these games, so I'll run through them quickly. Friday night. Now, I do like the fact that they have Friday night games. I think that's a good idea. You got the Memphis Showboats against the Michigan Panthers. The Showboats have been one of the most consistent teams in the UFL. They consistently stink on offense, especially. They managed just 17 points in a horrible loss to the Roughnecks, who were also a terrible team last week. They managed just 12 points per game in their first two. The Panthers are coming off a come-from-behind win over the previously winless Brahmas, who found some new life under their replacement offensive coordinator and a backup quarterback. And now the Brahmas covering here is a bit of an illusion, because, as I said, the Panthers were up 8 points and going in for a score with about 4 minutes left in the game, and would have put them up at least 11 to 14 points. And their quarterback threw a horrible pick six at the 20-yard line going in. It was just awful. And I took the bad beat on that one, so thank you very much. In this game, I like the over here. That Michigan is second in the league in scoring points at 21.5. That means you'll only need Memphis to score like 14, and you're over the 35 in that game. So I also like the Panthers -7 in this game. Like I said, they were up 8 over the Brahmas and driving for a score. They look like one of the better teams in the leagues. David, you were nodding or shaking your head. I can't tell which.
Yeah, the only one that I was looking at there, the Stallions are playing was it the Stallions and Roughnecks this? Yes, the Stallions playing the Roughnecks this week. If I do get involved with one, I do like the Stallions. I don't trust Houston at all. I know they picked up one win, but I would lay the 7.5 with
the thing that is so scary about this game to me is the Stallions have not shown up on offense at all. I mean, last week they had to come from behind and win 11-10. They had to score late to win 11-10 in the featured Friday night game. They're only averaging 14 points per game. Now, this is a team that led the league in offense the past 2 years and won the championship the past 2 years, and was the short pick to win the whole thing again this year at +260. Now they're sort of neck and neck with a couple of other teams. Now, the Roughnecks are the worst scoring team in the league at 11 points per game, but the Roughnecks benched their starting quarterback at halftime, and they turned the reins over to this quarterback, Nolan Henderson. Everybody remembers him from Delaware being a fighting blue hen. He also had a cup of coffee with the Baltimore Ravens in the NFL. Now, the thing I like about him, he's got some scoot to his game. He's small. He can run. He had a 30-yard run in the game. I think he had close to 70-something yards total rushing in just a second half. And when he was in there, they were moving the chains. So the problem I have in picking this game is, the Stallions are supposed to be a really class team in the league, but they haven't shown it at all. And yeah, the Roughnecks are supposed to be terrible, but a lot of what was terrible about the Roughnecks was the horrible quarterback play. And they went to this other Nolan Henderson kid who, is a pretty good running quarterback. So yeah, it's tough for me. Honestly, I'd go the other way in this one. I'm going to go Roughnecks plus 7.5, and lean to the over 36.5 in that game. And that is the early game on Sunday.
Gotcha. Tom, you got any UFL thoughts?
It's all gibberish to me.
Okay.
Now, Split, this time of year, I know NBA playoffs coming up, but any other sports that you're looking at right now? Or you been looking at Major League Baseball, or really any other sports that we're not even talking about?
He does tennis.
Yeah, my summer sport is tennis. So they're just about to hit the clay swing. And for me, that's what I usually do best because quick strategy for people who just want to jump in. The clay is the slowest surface. I like to fade American big servers over there against clay court specialists. So you'll look and you'll see Taylor Fritz is number 9 in the world, and he's playing some guy that's number 78, right? Like he should win easily. The thing is, the guy that's number 78 spends most of his year on clay, grew up in South America, and loves clay courts. Taylor Fritz grew up with get on a clay court in America is hard. You need to have a lot of money. I think there's one out here in Sacramento that you can go to. So there's a lot of good chances for upsets. And I just take the serving out of the equation. And I'm looking at who's better from the baseline because you can't get all the free points that you can get in Wimbledon and at the US Open and during that hot summer swing that we'll get here in July and August for tennis. So I'm loving the tennis right now. And I like to get up early, and it's always on when I'm up. So that's the sport that I'm concentrating on as the NBA playoffs dies down. One thing that's nice, I wonder if you gentlemen would agree about the NBA playoffs. It's the same handicap 7 times in a row, right? Yeah. It's not like the regular season I'm diving into. How do the Wizards do when they play the Bulls? How does Milwaukee do on these West Coast trips? It's the same handicap. You watch the game. You take the notes and you kind of throw the numbers out the window. So I have more time for the tennis right now, and it's perfect for me because I usually do well on the clay court swing.
Now, for somebody,
hold on, can I say something real quick about that?
Yeah.
So in really all playoffs, game 1, the public tips off what they're doing, so it's easier for the books to make sharper numbers, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So if they know that, they like the Celtics in round 1 and game 1, they're going to make the number so that we're still getting on the Celtics regardless of what happens.
One thing I was going to say, though, too, even with that, though, a lot of times, unless there's like an injury, the books don't adjust a lot of times the lines much from game 1 to game 2.
Point. So, say Orlando opens or Boston opens -7 against Orlando, and they win maybe 8.5. It's not like they're going to move it 3 or 4 points, even if Boston wins by 30.
Yeah. So a lot of times, if you don't overreact, you could kind of have your, play for that game, that next game. You could find some great numbers. Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask you for some people out there, even like myself, that don't know much about betting tennis. If you're looking in there, and that was some good advice you gave. But what's a quick way how do you know that they're playing on a clay surface, or what's a quick way to find out that if you're
so each tournament will be on it. I use an app, right? So I'm following the matches, and it usually gives me the the name of the tournament, the level of the tournament. Now we'll use the men's because it's easier. The WTA, I actually prefer the WTA, but their scoring system's kind of wacky. So for the men, they have a 250, a 500, 1,000, and a Grand Slam. The Grand Slam's worth 2,000 points, and these are the number of points that you would receive if you were to win the tournament. The other thing that I like to do when you're knowing that, right? So, I should just pull one up right now, but I also like more upsets in the 250s, and I like more chalks in the thousands, because a lot of times on these lower level tournaments, the players are getting sponsorship fees to be there, but they don't really care, but they have to show up to get this huge check, but it doesn't matter what they do after that. So you see a lot more upsets at the 250s. 500 is pretty good. Thousands can be pretty chalky, as well as some of the Grand Slams. So I personally just use an app. I could pull it up right now. Like I'm using Tennis Live, and it will just tell me like today, the number one tournament for men is ATP Barcelona, and it just tells me it's ATP 500 on clay. There's also an ATP 500 in Munich, and a WTA 500 in Stuttgart, and they're all on clay. And normally it's a season. So right now it's clay season, and it'll build up, and the climax or the Super Bowl or whatever will be the French Open, and that will be played a Memorial Day weekend is the first weekend usually of the French Open. So they'll be playing on clay for the next 2 months, and it's a great time to scout. And then you can see who's hot and start for look at those early round upsets for the big tournament. Because also, and you guys will know this, right? In almost any sport, right? The playoffs and the big events bring public money. Right on a Wednesday night in the NBA, like I said, looking at Milwaukee and Washington, usually only sharp bettors betting that, right?
Right.
Now we look to the playoffs. Milwaukee's playing Indiana Pacers. There's going to be a lot of people getting down on that series because it's going to be exciting to watch. So knowing when the money's sharp or the smaller tournaments, line moves are usually pretty good. You don't want to get the bad end of the line move. I'm not as afraid of line moves for the NBA playoffs or for the NFL playoffs as well, because I feel like there's a lot of public money in those.
Gotcha.
Man, college baseball is the same way.
Yeah, I haven't dabbled in it. I love baseball, love MLB, but yeah, college baseball, I've never placed a college baseball bet.
Well, I got two final picks for the UFL. Let me just get them out of the way, guys. Saturday game is the Battlehawks and the Renegades. The Battlehawks look like one of the better teams or the best team in the league the first couple of weeks. Last week, they looked terrible against the Defenders, but the Defenders defense is going to do that to a lot of people. It's the best defense in the league by far. They have that crazy blitzing that they do. The Defenders are going to make a lot of teams look stupid. The Battlehawks are the number one scoring team at 24 points per game, a full touchdown better than the Renegades, who are at 17 points per game. The little different style, the Hawks have been dominant on the ground, while the Renegades are mostly a passing team on offense. But they don't have a very mobile quarterback in Luis Perez, but they still score a good number of points. Total on this is 39.5. If these two teams just score their average, that's going to go over. And then the Battlehawks are just a -1 in this game. That's a line I can live with on the Battlehawks as well. The Battlehawks -1. And then the Brahmas against the Defenders. So the Brahmas are winless, and they face the lossless DC Defenders, home of the UFL Beer Snake. Now, this is one of the most popular things in the UFL is watching the Beer Snake get built when the DC Defenders are at home. And by the way, for those of you interested in Beer Snake trivia, the world's largest beer snake was a 311-foot long snake of beer cups created by Colorado Mammoth fans. Another significant beer snake in beer snake history was a 247-foot snake created by Minnesota Wild fans. The DC Defender fans' longest one they've made has been 1,240 cups deep, which is equivalent to 20,000 ounces of beer or 156 gallons consumed to make that beer snake. But back to the UFL game handicapping. Look, this Defenders defense is ferocious. Greg Williams is gone, but they replaced him with his son, who is running the same blitz crazy scheme as dear old dad. By the way, Greg Williams left and joined most of the former coaching staff of the Defenders with their former head coach, who is now at Tennessee State. Maybe he wanted to do a little more research before switching jobs, because Tennessee State is currently undergoing extensive staff cuts and layoffs while dealing with a financial problem where they're short about $154.5 million. So might have want to look into that. This guy has gotten screwed on contracts before. He Greg Williams was supposed to get a 3-year extension at Alabama State and make almost $1 million a year. And a few days before it was supposed to go into effect, he found out that the provost of the university actually didn't have the authority to extend the contract, and the board had voted it down. And not only was he not getting the extra money, he was out of a job. So, he's had a little bit rough. So, good luck to him and the rest in Tennessee State. Look, I can't make any case for the Brahmas. They're terrible. They're 0-3. They look like they had a little more going last week, but they still lost. Defenders should shut them down completely on offense and beat them here -7.5. There you go. Your beer snake trivia and the coaching history of Barlow.
Cool, man. So first round, I guess I don't know whatever else you guys want to talk about. Any like first round series upsets that you see, or even maybe teams of underdogs that you see jumping out in game one for the NBA this weekend or anything?
I mean, I kind of feel like the Pistons are alive against the Knicks. Knicks really don't have depth. I like how the Pistons have been playing. Really, you can't look at history because the Pistons have been awful, but they actually just beat this team when both teams were healthy. I think we get to a game 7 here.
Yeah, even if you don't take the Pistons, I love the series spread here. I think they're going to keep it closer than people think, and I was really surprised when I saw that price.
I was too.
It must be really high in New York. Maybe they just assume that more people in New York bet than Detroit, and there's just probably 1,000 Knicks fans that are just running to the window and they're going to bet them no matter who the matchup is. But I was always surprised on that, and because of that, I think we're getting a great value on the series price. I mean, Pistons were 3-1 against the Knicks this year. So we're looking at things like that. I think it's tough to put them at -400. So I think there's a great value there. A series that I'm looking at for an upset is, though, also on that Eastern Conference side. I like the Milwaukee Bucks at +180. I think that's a great deal there. They did have some chemistry problems this season, but the Damian Lillard injury might end up being a blessing in disguise for them as they can get back to the identity. And I don't think that they're a championship contender, but I think they can find that identity they had when they won the championship team, which was really as a defense-first team, a team that was ability to get stops. Because now with Giannis out there, Brook Lopez, they're going to have a lot of size, and you don't have the instant, traffic cone guy you attack in the pick and roll without Lillard there. Of course, you do lose some shooting, but assuming that Giannis can pick up the slack on offense, this team, it's a much better team. And, they split this season. I believe they were 2-2 or no, were they 2-2? I just know the most recent game they played, they needed a crazy 4-point play from Tyrese Halliburton. And actually, I think they were 3-1 because it might've been a season sweep. Now I think about it, I'm going off the top of my head. I apologize for that. But Milwaukee Bucks at this price, I thought it should have been about +120, +130. You take into account the fact that the home court advantage and the coaching advantage. And it's crazy with two coaches that have a championship. But I think this whole panel would agree that we'd much rather bet on Rick Carlisle than Doc Rivers, especially in a playoff series. However, the price is just too much for me to overcome. I'm taking the extra juice there, +160. What do I have on Bookmaker right now? I'll double check, get the exact price we have right now. +168 on Bookmaker right now. I'll take the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. With both of those upsets, and the Pistons, that number seems big, but I mean, as Shaq kind of showed us about a month ago or so, a lot of people just aren't really paying attention to the Detroit Pistons. The Knicks have the name, but out of teams, eliminating the play-in teams from it, they're in the second half of the season, they're the worst in offensive rating as far as teams that are still, that were in that top 6 coming in. So I do like the Pistons. I think they're live, and I agree with you with the Bucks too. I was a little surprised that there's so much Pacers love. I know the Pacers went much deeper last season, but Milwaukee's been battling with injuries those last couple years in the playoffs, really to Giannis, who's the main person that matters. And I think that the books may be overvaluing that Dame Lillard injury, because even though he's hurt in the short term, I mean, they've got some different pieces, Kuzma and Kevin Porter Jr., playing well. They've even got Ryan Rollins from coming. They've got some guys stepping up who obviously they're not going to be better than Dame short term, but they've got some guys on that roster that people aren't really paying attention to that I think can make a name for themselves and get them by the Pacers. So I definitely agree with you.
Now, David, if we would have done this show on Sunday, I would have also given you the Los Angeles Clippers as an underdog upset. But this line is flipped. This line has flipped. So right now the Clippers are minus 124. You could have got them at plus 108, plus 110 on Sunday night. So about 30 cents of line movements. Do you agree with the movement? I do personally, but I don't know. You know, it's one of those things, right? You see a TV for $400. Next week is $500. Still could be a good deal, but I just saw it for $400. I can't pay $500 for it. I'm kind of feeling that way with the series.
You said what are you? Oh, so for the series or for the
just the Nuggets? The Clippers are now minus 124, and they were
playoffs. Kawhi.
Yeah, that's probably the one that I'm really fascinated to see, because if you look at how the teams are playing right now and the shakeup, it does look like the Clippers definitely have the momentum in their favor. I just have such a hard time trusting the Clippers. I have such a hard time trusting Kawhi Leonard at this point of his career, and a hard time of trusting James Harden.
David, Kawhi is that.
He is.
But I'll give more even than even like with Harden, I feel like this is a series. If you like the Nuggets, I would probably wait, because I do think that the Clippers at some point are going to be up in this series, either 1-0 or 2-1, and you'll even be able to get a better price on Denver where people won't want it, because I'm not so sure the Clippers win this series. I think even though it looks like they should, just with everything going on, I'd probably give the lean to the Nuggets. I feel like this is probably going to be a series that the Clippers are up 2-1, maybe even 2-0, and they blow it. That's going to be my prediction. Is Nuggets and 7.
I think the Clippers win the West. I think they're the most balanced team. They're deep. They're coached well. And Kawhi, come on. Look what he did with Toronto. He hasn't been healthy since. Kawhi in the playoffs is the best. He's the best player in the league. Playoff Kawhi.
Clippers winning the West just feels like Browns winning the AFC.
Man, I'm telling you.
Until you see it happen. Until it happens, I can't. Yeah.
I haven't heard a lot of Laker talk. Are we out on the Los Angeles Lakers?
Yeah, I think Minnesota knocks them out.
Really?
No.
I was thinking it was a pretty good matchup for them. Why do you think that?
I just think Minnesota's the better defense. I think Anthony Edwards is going to be huge in this series. But yeah, they're bigger, they're younger, faster. I just last year same thing happened. Everybody loved the Suns, and then when they played the Timberwolves, they realized that the Suns are just an old team, old and slow. I think this Lakers team is not that old and slow, but yeah, I like the Timberwolves.
Old and slow-ish. David, David, are you with Tom?
I kind of want to see LeBron make another run, though.
Not at all. I really don't think that the Timberwolves are going to win this series. I know you could talk about being slow, but it's like, who are you really referring to being slow? Are you referring to, to Luka? I mean, they've been kind of playing that narrative on him, but he still goes out there, drops 45. I'm not so sure how much the speed alone matters. Anything can somewhat happen, but I'm not giving the Timberwolves too much of a chance. I'm actually a little high on the Lakers, man. I think that the Lakers can end up coming out of the West, to be honest with you. I've got a future on them coming out.
Spread, are you on the Lakers in this series or the Timberwolves?
In this series, unfortunately, I am. And we talked about me being from Sacramento, so that's my least favorite franchise in all of sports. Worse than the Dodgers, worse than the Yankees.
Well, you know what that makes Tom? He's our lone wolf.
And I'm on the Wolves, so bang.
There we go. Yeah, that's definitely works out here. So here's my concern for Minnesota. And we saw this last year when Minnesota played Dallas. in the Western Conference Finals. And if we were breaking down most games and we were talking about the Timberwolves, we would have Jaden McDaniels as a good defender. We would like our matchup defensively on whoever McDaniels is covering. Unfortunately, that does not apply when it comes to Luka Doncic because McDaniels is a little bit too small. His speed doesn't matter because Luka doesn't use speed. And we saw how much they were able to take advantage of that matchup last year. Rudy Gobert, another player who does excellent on defense in the regular season, has consistently had problems in the playoffs when opposing coaches target him. And one thing I would say about Redick is that I was wrong. I mean, I laughed this offseason as a quote unquote Laker hater. I was so happy that they grabbed this guy from the podcast that was LeBron's buddy. And I was absolutely wrong. He's throwing up excellent plays. He's doing a good job with the leadership. He's not pushing them too hard. He took his foot off the gas when it was needed. And I think that he understands basketball enough and works with LeBron well enough that they will be able to attack those defensive deficiencies of the T-Wolves. So I don't know about the Lakers beating the Thunder. I even think if the Warriors were to get past Houston, that's a really tough matchup for Los Angeles. At the same time, if they were in the NBA Finals, would I be surprised? No, because Luka took what I consider to be an inferior Dallas team to the NBA Finals last year. And I think he's got a better supporting cast here. The main concern for this Lakers team is going to be lack of size, right? And lack of rim protection. So Edwards can take advantage of that. And I think the Thunder definitely could take advantage of that. And we've seen the Warriors do it constantly. But in this Minnesota series, I don't know if that comes home to roost. But, Tom, I hope you're right, man. I would love to see Anthony Edwards really cement himself as a top 5 player because I think that if he gets this win with this squad, I think it would be hard for us to not consider him to be a top 5 player in the league. So I'm rooting for you, and I hope I'm wrong, but my brain says Los Angeles advances.
Stars are made in the playoffs.
Now, President, would you be one thing I do want to ask you? I know we don't know who Cleveland's going to play yet in the first round. I try to. You're a Kings fan. I'm a Cavs fan, and the way things are going, I actually think that Boston's coming out of the East right now, momentum wise, for a lot of different reasons I can get into. But from someone else, I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are in the East. Do you think it's Cleveland I know they have a chance, but do you think Cleveland can overcome Boston, or do you think it's Boston's to win, or is there somebody else you think it can do it?
It's a 2-horse race. I would be absolutely shocked unless it was just a whole hospital full of injuries if it wasn't Boston or Cleveland. I mean, that's the Eastern Conference Finals now. Write it in. But unfortunately, I'm with you. If I had to pick a team right now, and I know they're the number 2 seed, I would take the Boston Celtics. I like the way that they've run. I don't think that their statistics accurately reflect who they are because they coast so much and they get out to these huge leads and they kind of give them away and they're kind of messing around with their bench units. And then Cleveland, and I think this is rough, I think in the NBA and the Major League Baseball, you almost don't want to have that start that they had, right? You don't want to start 15-0 because I'm thinking you can't stay hot for 6 months. Yeah. Right. You want to get hot around February or March. And I wonder if you just sort for post All-Star break, those Cleveland numbers aren't nearly as impressive. Overall, their net rating, effective field goal percentage, defensive rebounding percentage, all the things that we like, they were much higher during the first half of the season. Could it be kind of the same thing because they realize, hey, we're only going to be judged on what we do in the postseason now? You know, getting the number 1 record in the Eastern Conference probably isn't enough for this franchise anymore. They really need to beat Boston to make the next step. So could it be that they're just, looking ahead as well? We talk about look ahead spots for individual games. I mean, that last month for the Cavs had to be a look ahead month. Right? They're dialed in. Boston really didn't seem too interested in making a push. And they were getting wins, and you have so many free wins on your schedule. Even if you're not playing the best basketball, you're playing teams like Philadelphia who are trying to lose. You're playing teams like the Toronto Raptors. Oh, Scotty Barnes has got 20 points. Let's pull him in the fourth quarter, right? He's doing great tonight. So I do agree with you. But, like I said with the Lakers, I don't think it would be shocking if Cleveland came out of the East. I think it's a 2-horse race. I'll be shocked if anyone else comes out of the East. I'll tell you that much. I'll be shocked if we see the New York Knicks or the Indiana Pacers in the NBA Finals. But I would have to give the slight edge to Boston. If I were to make like a percentages, I'd probably say Boston 70, Cleveland 30.
All right, we're butting up right against the hour-long length of the show here, and we've covered a lot of ground. NBA playoffs, NHL, the aforementioned UFL that yours truly is covering and taking one for the team all season long. And we even got into some clay court tennis with our special guest, Spread Astaire. Spread, where do people find you and your stuff?
All right, I'm on Twitter/X at Spread Astaire, and you can find most of my content there. I do the NBA rundown for nukethehouse.com. I do fantasy best ball content. We do a live draft every Tuesday for fanspeak.com. And I also write for bookmakersreview.com. So head on over and you can catch all the content there.
All right. Sounds great. And you know where to find David Delano, Tom Macrina, and me. We'll be all the time at hitthepick.com, hitthepick.com. You can find our social media stuff there as well. And by the way, I'm giving out picks on every UFL game free all season long. So if you're interested in the UFL, you can get picks from me all season long. They're under the free picks, and just look for them there at hitthepick.com. All right, this has been the Founders Show. Hopefully we get Scott and Wes back next week, and we got a full house. Looking forward to keeping special guests coming on the show all the time. Special thanks to Spread Astaire. Until next time, everybody, from the Founders Show.